the idea is that people from Ukraine share about how they are living, in which way NVC is supporting them dealing with the challenges related to the war, and how NVC is also supporting them in their work. And I suggest that we try to do this in 2 rounds so that people can talk more, not so long for one time. And I invite now for sharing where you are living, what your work is, and maybe when you got to know NVC. And I will start in alphabetical order. Irena, you would be the first. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I could be the first in alphabetical order by names. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Irena. I'm living currently in Kyiv. I was in Kyiv all the time from the beginning of Russian invasion in 2022. Yeah, and I was all the time in Kyiv. So I believe that you saw all those posts and maybe videos, how it was at the beginning. And it was, now I could say that it was terrifying. Back then, I don't know what to say, because back then I woke up from explosions, and my boyfriend said, no, it's just the truck crossing the bridge. It's not the explosions. And then next 45 minutes, we were searching via internet any proofs. What was it? What was it? And the first proofs comes like 1.5 hours after the first explosions. And first 2 years was the hardest one because it was all around the cave, and beginning from the blocking the city, no way out. Those who were trying to escape, they were staying waiting for 3 days to cross like 100, 300 kilometers. And there was already Russian troops around the city, so like 10 kilometers from the city. So it was very close. So I decided to stay in the city because I thought that this is the most safer place for me for that time, because I believe that we could defend the city better than we were escape out of the city. And in fact, it was the best decision for that time, because my friends of mine was offering to come to Bucha, and I was lucky that I said no. So yeah, first half year there was no food, no anything, and
Please take some time, some breath.
I almost lost my cat because she got ill. So now she had chronic disease of kidneys. So I bring her as soon as become it more or less possible. I bring her to my parents because they live in the best part of Ukraine, and now she's living there with them. So then blackouts came, and the most, I believe that the second biggest shock was in spring, Back 22, I joined the project, peace building project with PAX. We were lucky to get financing to support refugees, psycho-emotional support, and we were specializing exactly on NVC. And Maria was with us in team, so we were like one team. And Elena, who was present, I don't see her anymore. However, so it was our team. And we were doing a lot of support, psycho-emotional evacuation support. We established mobile teams, so we find few buses and bring what people need to their cities for with the occupied territories. So it was a lot of different type of work. And then one of moments that I remember well. It was in Lviv. It's the best part of Ukraine. We should meet with our partners outside of country. They couldn't come to Ukraine, unfortunately, because they don't have permission from their security. So we agreed to meet in Poland. And it was the first travel for me from the start of the invasion. And I really was afraid to travel by train because train station were bombing that time, very intensive, and exact those days were Kramatorsk destroyed rail station, and a lot of civilians were hurt that while those bombing, during that bombing, and my train were late for almost 2 hours. I was standing on station, and then sirens came, and I thought might be the train wouldn't leave the station while sirens. However, when I asked the responsible man, they said no, train will leave station. So if you want to take this train, you should do it now, no matter of sirens. And I was so angry with me that I took my place in the train, because as soon as I took my place, I saw the first rocket in the sky, and it flew just in front of me, and the direction was exact in my direction. And then I saw the second and the third one, and of course the first reaction was I should flew from here. And it was really hard because the corridor was too wide, and a lot of people and stuff and everything, and a lot of people tried to escape the train in that moment, and the rockets were like just explosions for, I don't know, few hundred meters, so they missed the station, but it was very close. It was in front of the station, and a lot of people in panic, and dogs, children, everyone was lost, crying. So it was really very. Yeah, and there was no shelter, deep enough shelter to hide, and everyone was stuck in the entrance near the closest one. So I just start yelling. No, well, not yelling, but just screaming that please just go inside and give others the opportunity to just to take their place, just at least to hide as deep as they can for that moment. And in that moment, I got that awareness that I'm the only one who trying to help those people, because there was no volunteers around. Like half an hour before, there was a lot of volunteers, just amazing lot of volunteers who were helping, who were asking, do you need help, who provide you with direction, with water, and etc. And when there was real need for support, there was no one to support. And it was scaring because people were scaring. They don't know what to do because Lviv at that moment, it was that transfer where all refugees came and tried to escape abroad. And there was a lot of people who were waiting for their buses, trains, and etc. And there was no infrastructure around, no militaries around. There was only the train station. So yeah, you know, that time, that moment, I just catch myself that if I could do that, then at least I should do how much as much as I can at that moment. And it was also helping to understand what we could do, what we bring more in our project. So we set up in our project that we have in that time few directions. So the first one, it's individual psycho-emotional support, where we work on the occupied territories. The second, we work with refugees, mostly in mobile cities, in refugees camp, and it was not only psycho-emotional support for them through NVC, empathy session, drawing, recovering, etc., but also it was negotiation and facilitating to bring understanding among refugees and administration of those mobile cities. And if you would be interested, I could share through eardraut with few stories, because we have a few stories, short videos, where they shared their stories and with English subtitles, so captions. So it's also, if it would be helpful, what we did through those 2 years. And at the end of second year, so the third direction, it was like mobile groups. We have 6 teams, 7 teams. It depends on which phase. Who were going outside of the cities. So we have one team in West region, one team in North, and one in the center. So it was Kyiv, Western Ukraine, and Dnipro. And they were visiting the occupied territories, and those territories which were close to frontline, to provide the same support to people, and not only work with them through NVC, but also bring goods and services to them. For example, hairdressers, legislators, so anyone who they could need to provide additional help. So not only through communication. And then when the most of refugees for most of refugees become obvious where they want to stay, would they like to stay in Ukraine or would they go outside? We establish one more direction. It's help to integrate those refugees in their new communities, to become a member of those communities who invite them and who host them. So just become a part of those communities. It was till the almost autumn of 2023. For now, we don't have financing to continue this project, so we all work in our individual direction. I switch to a bit different work. Now I'm working with the Ministry of Social Policy, and we establish so it's like dual work for me. So from one side, I'm working with a digital project, and I'm trying to help people to simplify the procedures to receive social help services, payments, and etc. However, that process includes learning those new procedures and services by social workers. And the second part, which I'm covering, is exact work with that social workers. And one of that part, that will be in a few, we will start in a few months. It will be exact training for those social workers, and one part of the training would be NVC, so how to communicate with the people and provide them support. So it's like dual work now, and waiting for also, I hope so, that we will gain also financing to continue our project to support the occupied territories and also support those refugees that are coming, because for the last few months we had much more refugees, because a part of those people who are leaving their homes by their decision. Unfortunately, we have situation where they forced by local government to leave their places because it's too dangerous. So might be Maria will share a bit more because she's closer to that process. So I leave it so far. Yeah, and I'm really lucky that I could be with you, because now we have blackouts again and there is no plan for those blackouts. So if I will switch off, I'm not switch off, so I will try to come back as soon as possible. It means that I lost my electricity. And I'm open to your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Irena. And thank you for sharing what was so painful for you. And I suggest that we first hear now Maria and Elena and then go for questions. Is that okay for you? I hope you will have enough electricity. So, Maria, are you willing to go next?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Irena, for what you say. I am right, now I am in city Sumy. It's 32 kilometers of the border of line and Russian. What was about me these last 3 years, when the big war started, I start work with the first day at the hotline, crisis hotline, and I support Ukrainian people who in every region who has an in crisis situation, who was in crisis situation, and who now in the border. And every these years I work. And I use a lot NVC, nonviolent communication, because, like example, when military people calls to me and he knows at the contact line, he the best friend in 1 hour ago dead. And these people need to find somebody with him he could talk, feel safety, and who could understand. And in this situation, empathy works very good. And I understood it helps me in my work, because if I don't have this instrument in my work, it maybe will be more hard for me. And when the big war starts, I was in city Sumy, and around our city was a lot officer, and we have a lot bomb attacks, shaheds attacks, and I think because I have a lot of practice how I could stabilization myself, I could be here and I could live here. But sometimes I feel like I'm have burnout. It part happened with me. Yes. I do some empathy group in my city, and I work with some organization like a psychotherapist, and I use nonviolence communication like a method in my practice too. I work in an organization Free Choice. This organization just works with military, and more than the more of my clients, it's military now, and or veterans, or it's people who now at hospitality and has a lot problem with them health because maybe who left some part of body, and I support these people to accept, and I support these people how you could live, how you could continue to live, and how you could find new motivation, new sense of life, and sometimes I understood for myself when I listen this hard story. For myself, need self-empathy, and I use it a lot for myself, and it helps me. And another organization with I work now too, it's psychotherapist, is center of an integration. And this I work a lot with people who live go in another city, who has some trauma of war, and who was in a crisis situation. And I understood in my city a lot these cases, and a lot of people comes to me and ask about to help. And the first what I use, and the first what I teach these people, it's CNVC, because I understood how to us now need to use CNVC, how need to use self-empathy, because every day we could have, and we have sometimes crisis moments, and if we in a moment could help each other, we could go in, and it's helped me too. What else I wanted to talk about myself? Maybe for me this intensive, if I could go, it's about my development, because I understood when I end school of peace building in Ukraine. Irena little talk about this. I have a lot of practice, but I understood how very good, and how it's about my development when I could see how another trainer works. And for me, it will be very supported about my work, because I understood everything what I listening or an NVC training I could use in my training. Like example, when Ertraut was in Ukraine, a lot what she says, I could talk about this in clients, and I could support because I was listening how it did Ertraut. And for me, it's like more development and more another practice. And Ertraut, I use this practice, if you remember. Yes, I use this with 5 my clients, and it works. Yes.
I'm happy to know that I could contribute something to you and your clients.
Thank you very much. And I understood if I could go on in this intensive, for me, it will be what I can use in my city and use with my clients. Like example, in August, I will go on to the retreat like a trainer, and I will be doing some empathy groups with people who has burnout, and who is volunteer in Ukraine. And I understood everything what I could have in and what I could study, I could use in my practice every day. And for me, it's very supported myself. Maybe I think maybe because I'm crisis consultant in some situation, I feel more comfortable because I understood what I can do, what I can't to do. But now in my city, months ago was very hard situation because a lot of people thinking that that Russian come to us in my city, and a lot of people have panic attacks, and it's like information war in my region. And sometimes just listening and just give people a place where they could talk, where they could find the person with who they could feel more safety. It's very helpful, and it's working for me. Like that. Maybe something else now. I'm proud not listening.
Yes, maybe in the next round. For now, thank you very much. Sharing
Thank you very much.
your living. It's really challenging. And Elena, are you willing to go next?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Originally from Ukraine. In very end of March 2022, I lived with, I left Ukraine with my kids, and we moved to Ireland. I joke that I didn't choose Ireland, Ireland chose me. In the beginning, I didn't plan to leave the country. And the first day of the war, my parents and like whole family, my daughters, left Kyiv. And we stayed with my son, with my cat and dog in our house. And maybe after 2 weeks, when missile destroyed Ukrainian Russian plane, military plane in 500 meters in our forest, where we used to work with the dog. And my son came out just to have fresh air and saw this explosion with 3 tails. He said me, "Mama, look, it's like in a computer game." And yeah, he plays computer game, and I realized that there is a mixture in his head, and I tried to find my place where I could be valuable at that time in my area. I lived in suburbs of Kyiv. But then I realized that I have 3 kids, and most probably there would be necessity to them to start new life where they can study at school, enter university, colleges. Therefore, I took decision to leave the country. In the beginning, I planned to go to Portugal, but then my friend from Portugal said that, Elena, it's overcrowded here. People are placing in the sport halls, and you know English. Just try to consider another country, because it's the poorest country in Europe. It was hard for me because I was overwhelmed with everything. But then my sister called me and said, Elena, we found your family. It was a shock for me because, yes, when the war started, I hosted people in my house, but at least I knew them. Or at least they were friends of the friends. And when I contacted the family that was ready to host us in Ireland, I was surprised. I thought maybe they're religious people, too religious, or maybe sectants, because sectants usually like invite and so open. And they have 4 kids and I have 3 kids. But when they send me a message, Elena, come, we'll treat you as a family, I say, okay. That was the last drop in these ways, and I took a decision to go to Ireland. They support us with everything. They bought tickets, and we came, and they hosted us for 3 months. And I remember how frozen I came. I'm in yoga in different body practices, but I was like frozen. I was happy, of course it's English-speaking country, people take care. We were invited, we were given place to live, but it was so strange. When you never lived in any other accommodation rather than yours or your family, you have kids who get used to a certain level, and immediately it stopped being as valuable as was before. The other values come in the first stage. And we realized in a couple of months that Ukrainian way of bringing children, especially mine, with democratic and a lot of freedom, and Irish differ. And I started to feel tension. It was silent tension. Nobody told me, we smiled to each other, but one day I woke up and my hand was just like paralyzed. I feel sore, and I understand that, oh, psychosomatic caught me. I went to the hospital and I realized that in hospitals, it's totally different system. They didn't even give me injection. And, but I was very lucky. Of course, usually people can stay 18 hours in ambulance here in Ireland. So I faced with a total different reality. And somehow it was secure and it was #1 value. On the other hand, it was something totally different. Different people, different values, different medical system, different bank system. You have to wait. It's like very progressive country with second GDP after Luxembourg, but at the same time, we saw how many priorities we had in Ukraine, which we didn't value. So it was like upside down. Because I knew English, I took it as a priority. So the first thing that I did, I started to meet local people. And they asked me, oh, could you translate this? Could you translate that? That's how I started to gather pieces of information. There was no infrastructure here for Ukrainians in terms of communication. And being a networker, I created a Telegram group, and I started to gather these pieces of information, translate into Ukrainian and send to this group and invite people to this group. From the second month, I started to work as a freelance interpreter, because Ukrainians were pretty hospitably met in Ireland, and we received medical, mostly everyone received medical cards, and many people referred to doctors. And as medical system is totally different, people were so lost. So I decided to create this channel and share the information. Where can people learn about schools for their kids, about entrance to the university, because it was almost May. It's time for entry to the university for students. And I took pieces of information from local people about work. I went to the hotels and said, do you need workers? Because Ukrainians are very good in hospitality. So, and I put everything to the group. In parallel, when the war started, I found out very many, it was still in Ukraine in the beginning of March, that many Ukrainians, especially women, write in Facebook in their pages, referring to Russian mothers, please take your sons out from our land. Our sons don't want to kill them. And in a certain moment, I realized that it's empty messages, because they didn't reach recipients, because recipients didn't consume this information. They didn't understand it. And I was so desperate about it. I talked to one Russian guy who created the Telegram group Empathy Cafe for Russian-speaking community. And he said, and I say, why are you not doing something? Why are you not protecting? It's crazy. Your country is invader. And he said, Elena, I already did something. I'm against this regime almost for 20 years, but I live in the city where 80% are pro-Putin. And do I want or not, we have this learning helplessness. One of my colleagues, and he's the owner of a tea company, went to the barricades in St. Petersburg in the first days, and he was just in jail. And I had to pay a big amount of money to take him out of the jail. And I felt that we still need to do something. So I called Irtraut and said, Irtraut, let's do something. And Irtraut supported, and we created the project called NVC for Peace, where we invited both Russian and Ukrainian participants. And they had workshops by the most prominent, well-known, different certified trainers from all over the world. From Nepal, from India, from Germany, all Irtraut Sport was involved, and also from Netherlands. But at a certain moment of time, there was so high tension between Russians and Ukrainians that we were obliged to switch off chat because there were two parallel lines and it was hard to keep the attention of the group in one point. And we started to discuss what we can do. We tried different formats. We tried dialogues. And then Ukrainian certified trainers came to us and said, and in this org group, there were Russian women, also candidate for certification, who was in India, now in Amsterdam, and this Russian guy. And Ukrainian certified trainers came to me and said, oh, to us, we would like to have mediation with you because we don't understand why you're doing this. It's too painful for Ukrainians. It was very painful for me as well, because still at that point of time, I want a dialogue. I don't want hatred between nations. But as Irtraut said, given the example between Israeli and Palestinians, that time has to cure a little bit. Oh, Irtraut maybe refer to her words later on to explain better. I'd like to focus on different. So in a certain moment after 28 weeks, which we met every Saturday, this project was closed. The group still exists. Not many people left it. 600 people are in this group, and I believe that it would be alive when the time comes. Meanwhile, I refocused my attention to Ukrainian community in Galway. It's a west coast of Ireland, an Atlantic. There are near 1,500 Ukrainians in the group, which I'm administrating right now. It still has the same intensity of messages, but I had one more choice, one more opportunity to share NVC. Of course, when I was in, and I still work as a freelance interpreter in hospitals, I have protocol, what I should do. I don't have my opinion. I don't have to support people because I don't even have the right to talk to them before the meeting. I was only for interpreting. But I have two caps. One is the interpreter cap, and I try to keep my business ethics, being an interpreter. But when the session finishes and I see that there are still questions, I wear another cap of a Ukrainian support worker, because right now I work with the Global Volunteer Center, and Ukrainian activist. And there I can use NVC without saying that it is NVC. I even agreed with my manager that we provide individual support sessions so people can come and talk. When I started to work in Global Volunteer Center started from October 2022, I was very lucky that my manager supported me, and I launched the first series of we call it empathy support circles. At that time, I realized that people just needed to talk and to share through which atrocities they passed, especially those who passed through occupations, especially those who couldn't bury their mothers for 1 week because when the war started, those who believed our celebrity men who shared from the screen that everything is okay and lost their parents in Bucha. These people brought all this pain with them to Ireland. New situation, uncertainty, and even though in the beginning there were a lot of support, there were places to live. People who lived in state accommodation, they were provided with, many of them were provided with food, received welfare, medical cards. Still, people were frozen. I thought it's only me, but then when I started to talk to people, people were shocked, were frozen, and were like not as efficient as they used to be in Ukraine. Because, for example, and later on I discussed it with psychologists, what happened with people. If before we need 1 day to do something, now it took us 5 days. It's like the efficiency dropped down dramatically. Overwhelming came more quicker than before. I think that this state of mind came to us especially because of uncertainty. Many people, despite their bodies were in Ireland, still their minds were in their phones, in their chats of their local communities. See, is any bombing? Is their house still standing? Are the parents alive? Are the husbands alive? And Irish people didn't understand why you don't spend your time with your child. Why you all the time on your phone? And I was invited for a few mediations. They call it interpreting, but it was in the reality cultural mediation. And using NVC and trying to base focus on feelings and needs. I try to explain both sides that, yes, we have cultural differences. Look this, look that. And when, for example, Irish people understand what's happening inside the person, they become less tensed. And the same happened with Ukrainians. I also did workshop understanding Ukrainians for Irish hosts because 25, up to 25%, but now maybe 15% are hosted by Irish hosts. It's if there are so we Ukrainians need 2% of population in Ireland right now for 2 years. There are 100,000 Ukrainians here, and there are 5 million Irish population of Ireland. It's a big percentage. We're second biggest community group here after Polish, 120,000. So we make certain impact in this system. And my idea is to protect our image as a nation using NVC approach and explaining to people, here, look, they have this and they have this. So when we are talking with people on the level of feelings and needs, and not should, would, should, or any obligations. It's easier to receive and transform these differences. Then then I decided that, we make the first circle. It was very powerful. It was very nice, but it wasn't very structured because people just needed to talk. And I would like people to learn more about NVC. And I launched another group, which we called Literature Club. And I launched one offline. And then again, I asked Traut, please help. Because my friend in the UK is launching something like Samaritans for Ukrainians to support mental health. If in the beginning, people abroad were mostly focusing on such questions as food, welfare, like how to find a job, now more and more the question of mental health coming to the first priority. There are few projects where people receive counseling help from Ukrainian psychologists to Ukrainian customers. Because even if Irish people were ready to provide support with counseling, most of Ukrainians don't have enough level to speak and to understand English. And this is a really big challenge for people. It's a really big. For me, it was so strange to see how mature men were lost because they didn't understand the system. And it's also one of the spheres where I try to focus my attention, mediation. Due to the war and due to replacement, relocation, or fleeing, all the problematic areas in families were unveiled. And what we're noticing, there are a lot of divorces between people. Attitude to women here different than in Ukraine. There are more equality. And if in Ukraine man was the main, let's say, income producer, here, if they, for example, a couple don't work, doesn't work, they receive equal welfare payments. And there are many, many reasons. I understand that men are very vulnerable here because they could be looked like this and say, okay, you left your country, you're not protecting your country and you're taking our welfare. So there are a lot of judgments. Therefore, we try to organize some dialogues for men and ask their needs as well. And I already started to do a mediation with couples who I finished mediation course during the war already online with the Ukrainian school, which gave me opportunity to understand process. And I also take something from NVC mediation because I realized the need here between hosts and Ukrainian, they still call them the guests, but some people live almost 1.5 years, and between families. And unfortunately, Ukraine has one of the highest level of domestic violence in Europe. And people who came here, they brought. So the people brought everything that they had in Ukraine. And we do some collaboration projects with domestic violence response NGOs and other organizations to support people, to help them integrate. And NVC here is a great tool to support. Of course, it gives opportunity to understand people and not to judge. And I share this with people in every piece of communication that I'm delivering, in every project that we say that, hey, we're different, but let's focus more on beauty and more in integration rather than on blaming and judging. Maybe for now that's all. And
thank you,
if you have
Elena, for giving us a perspective of a refugee living in a different country, in a different culture, and so many different perspectives. And I see we already spent about an hour, so now I would like to invite our guests, participants, if they have questions to ask, and then you can ask directly if you want to address this to one specific person or in general, and all the three of them can answer. So, and maybe I saw Marta. I'm not sure. I guess that you are also from Ukraine, and maybe you want to share shortly a few sentences. We were not prepared for you to be here, and at the same time, if you would like to share something, please do so. So my first call goes to Marta. Maybe you are not yet ready. So questions from other people to our Ukrainian candidates.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't
Okay.
find the button because I'm in a car now, and I'm happy to join you. And I missed first 20 minutes, but I heard Irena and Maria and Elena, and I'm so happy and proud that you do that work that you do. I'm living in Ukraine, in Lviv, and I remember I was in your seminar, Irtmund, when you were in Lviv. And so I'm familiar with NVC for about, I was participating in one project for about maybe 10 months, which based on NVC and meditation. It was mostly for community who meditate. And there was also a team, people from Russia, Kazakhstan, and it was exactly before the war started. So we were doing this project and online. And for me, it was the big impact for me, as I see how it's changed me, how it changed my attitude to myself, and I see how people also experience it different way. So for me, it's very important, I think, to spread this idea, to spread this message of that culture that could be different, that we could live different and communicate with each other different. I think that's very important for me, and self-empathy also helped me go through and during, still helps me to cope with that pain about the war and what's happening. So I don't know. Now I'm a little bit like I want to learn more still, because it's, I think, endless process in NVC, how you can develop this through your own needs, through your own feelings, and to be in this community, to learn from each other, to practice. And that's, I'm so glad that I can be here now and here, and talk about these things which are very important for me. I think without empathy, we have actually better future. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank
shortly.
you very much. Okay, thank you. Yes, I know there is space for people who want to ask questions, to share something, or how they were touched, what they understood. Please raise your hand, then I can see you. So I don't see any hands. So a question to everyone. You want to come to the IIT, in which way do you imagine it will support you with the work you're already doing? Also for yourself in terms of self-care. So maybe some of you want to share something, what you hope for when you come to the IIT.
I could start.
Yes.
So for me, it would be the third try. Why third try? And I even didn't get to the moment when it was time to think about financing. I was always stop at the moment when I was aware that I should leave Ukraine. So it was the biggest challenge for me. And only like few months ago, I finally accept that I could go abroad. So it's the biggest step for me that I can go abroad. So the next step for me is to find the financing for that, because it's always should I send those money as a donation for the Ukrainian forces, or should I invest it in my development? And for me, on one hand, I would like to develop myself. However, there would be no need for development as Ukrainians if there would be no Ukraine. So this is my priority. That's why I'm looking for financing. And why IIT and why NVC community? Because it's, for now, I hope to change it in Ukraine. However, for now, this is the only community where I could be myself, where there is no need to hide that I don't have hatred to Russians. I just consider that there is their strategy. It's painful, but it's their strategy. And I can't change their strategy, and I have no intention to do that. However, I could add to those Ukrainians who want to find another strategy except of hatred to survive and to recover. And if there is a teeny opportunity to do that, I believe I should use it. That's me.
Thank you, Irena. Do I understand you well that it's important for you to don't give the power to Russian politicians who started the war to change your values, that you really want to stay a human being with care for every human being?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I need to add?
Yes.
Thank you. For me, it's about what I see now, because I understood we have now in Ukraine and in Ukrainian abroad a lot of problem with communication, because military veterans people, it's one problem with communication. People who comes to another region, another problem in the communication. People who has a trauma, it's two problem with communication, because all these people change some. They stay more sensitive what another people could say, and they stay more expressional. And now I understood we have with this a lot problems, because when I started to practice NVC with people, then I have a lot of case in my practice with family. Like example, he is military now, she is now civilian people, and this both person could have a lot of problem with the communication, both because she it looks like in another planet now, and. When my people with my city Sumy, like example, go to another city like Lviv, or where is more peaceful, where is more safety, and in my city, like example, people could not go on the street and listening some music, because of time you must be attention, because something could be comes to you with a flight. And I understood sometimes it looks very hurtful, because like another people could live more peace and feel more peace, and people who now lives and near the abroad with Russia, it looks like not all time that people could understood each other. And for me, it's needed in my work, because I understood now I have this work, and in the future I will have a more work with communication. And like example, the last Monday, sometimes I'm a trainer in the first aid with another psychologist, and a lot of question to me was about how communication with people who are aggressive, who don't want to listen another people, how we could connect with these people. And I understood this practice very neat us in this time, and why I want to go intensive, because I could be developed in NVC, and I understood peace engineers school helps me too, and very helps training of NVC when I was in Kyiv, in Trout, Mark Lauter, Kirsten, everything. It's work for myself, but it will be more development if I could to be in this place like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And what is important for me to share as an outsider is that I'm really very much appreciating how Ukraine society cares for the military people, for the veterans, for the families of veterans and military people, because when we look in history, there was so much more domestic violence when soldiers returned to their families, and because of the traumatization. And so seeing what you are doing, I find it incredible. I think it's really care for peace in society too. And I know that I had been to Ukraine first in 2015. Already at that time, it happened that there were a lot of psychologists with whom I was working who were caring for military people. So I'm blown away by this care for these people and for the society. And that's a very important work you are doing.
Thank you.
Could I continue?
Yes.
I have 3 children, and what I take from being a mother for 21 years, I realized that children, they don't learn from what we say. They learn from what we do, how we behave, and even more, how we feel, and what are our intentions. So my idea, I have this big vision of making a good impact with the Ukrainian community to local community. It's ahimsa, it's nonviolence, it's not to harm, to what exists. And for me, it's important to be that person. And such big trainings as IIT, especially with the focus, it would be the first, let's say, no, I hope not the only, but the first training for the Ukrainian, with the Ukrainian interpreting. So I understand how it's important for my fellow NVCers, even from my pod, with whom we practice almost several years together, and some were already certified, and a few will be certified soon. So for me, it's like every penny is like a personal small victory toward their presence, my presence in the society, and coming back to the topic of being rather not only doing. Such trainings, they help to deal with mental constructs, as especially with limited beliefs. And if there would be more such people in their communities where a lot of violence or a lot of pain or a lot of contradictions, a lot of tension, mental PTSD, trauma, as more people in our surrounding will feel these calms. At least this is how I feel being in within Trout, with other trainers. And we're learning not only from words, but also from state. Therefore, being in person, it's so important. And I think that the nations can help people to become Ukrainian and other candidates, this type of people who eliminate certain energy, which helps to calm down pain and decrease the level of atrocities. Yeah, thanks.
And I still invite participants to ask questions if you, or to share what has been touching for you. That's also something. Yes, Andreas.
Yep. Thank you for sharing these stories. I'm very, very touched and I'm speechless. It's I knew the title of this meeting, but I didn't really know how many people will come, what you're going to share, and this is yeah. find your work very valuable for what you're doing for your community. I'm very touched that you are that you want to learn and intensify your knowledge about NVC in order to help others. That's a very that's probably the reason why most people come to the IIT, me included. But I don't have that background as you do, so I see there's a lot of suffering and pain in the last 3 years that you went through. That's I'm speechless.
I think that I spent all the meeting with electricity, and only last 10 minutes I don't have it. So I have a full battery to be with you with video. Yes, and I touched with the stories that other participants from Ukraine shared. And it was different experience because I know Elena and Maria. We know each other with Maria even personally. However, those stories, they were new for me. And thank you that you gave me experience to touch to your stories, to your lives. And I'm very grateful for the guests that they come to listen to our stories, because sometimes I start thinking that people tired from Ukraine and from war that Russia starts, and this meeting encouraged me do not lost this belief. I am aware that this is not the right word. However, I hope that you will understand what I mean. So thank you for organizing and for giving that opportunity, at least to try to fundraise those funds. I'm aware that it's not exact fundraising and it's not like the results. However, have that opportunity, it's also a great possibility for us at least to try to get to Germany, because I don't know where it would be possibility to host such intensive in Ukraine.
Thank you, Irena. Maria,
Okay.
yes.
Yes. I want to say thank you, everybody, because I feel with this meeting emotional contact, because I can see you and I can see how you attention listening everything what put talk with you. And how I feel now, for me, it was a new experience, because when Intraut said, I could did for us fundraising, I any in my time don't use this practice. For me, it is the first, but it looks very harmful and very risky. Because I understood for me it's a big challenge to go in Germany, and I understood why I need this, but I understood if somebody helps me doing this way to the IT more lightly, more light, more comfortable. For me, it will be the bigger support. And now I'm thinking, why not? It could be in my life. Thank you everybody, because for me it was very important listening everybody and understood how we use NVC in our life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elena?
As usual, I have a few hats. I have one hat, marketing hat, thinking, I also worry who will come, who are those people who are interested. So I have a lot of gratitude to those who come. I'm very curious where you learn about this fundraising, because it's personally interesting for me, because I'd like to know which sources of communication are working to promote this IIT, so that more people who may be interested can learn about it and participate. Of course, even those who pay their full amount, who afford full amount, it's also support. And those who donate could also support. And when some of the organizers from other IITs shared that, oh, there was something from someone who just donate, I was thinking, what is the motivation and how this person needs to think or to be. So this topic is very interesting for me. Therefore, one part of me was looking at this meeting from this perspective. But there is a bigger part of me who was participating, and as a participant, I felt shared reality. I felt very comfortable and very secure being myself and listening to my Ukrainian fellow NVCers. And yeah, I'm thankful to Imtraut that this idea was realized, because I understand that it's a new format. And it's so nice to introduce something new and see how it's, and from my perspective, I can say that, yeah, it's calm, it's a safe space, and it's more intimate. So thanks, Andreas, for your question. It was also kind of personalization of the meeting, because we are in a small group, and in a small group, it's easier to share from the heart. Thanks for everyone.
Thank you. Marta, are you with us? Do you have internet access right now? Then I want to call you.
Yes, it still works. For me, it was such a warm-hearted session that I don't know even what to say. I'm so happy to feel this connection. And as Elena mentioned about this safe place that we all need, I think that was really make change. As for me, I was also thinking like a challenge for me. Can I create a safe place for myself during the war, inside myself? And I think sometimes it happens.